Hi, this is Brandon Steele. Welcome to the Mainsail Financial Group Podcast series, where we host industry experts and local professionals to really share some of their areas of expertise, some knowledge into the areas that we don't really get a focus on day to day. Today, we want to thank Natalie Workman for joining us to really help us all figure out how to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, how to really work with your team or bring in a team to help you grow and kind of accomplish your goals in life. So Natalie, thanks so much for joining us first off.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this. I love the idea of becoming your best self. That is something that's very important to me and the business that we run. So this is right up my alley.
Perfect. Yeah, and for those who are not familiar with Natalie, who is everywhere, Natalie is an expert in leading teams and helping develop people. She helps a lot with business owners and achieving personal, professional, and financial goals as well. So very lucky, very fortunate to have you on, and can't wait to kind of get started and pick your brain a little bit here.
I'm ready.
All right, good deal. So I think we'll kind of jump right out the gate and start on the team front. So maybe the first place I want to start is just from a very high level. How do you really enhance and leverage a team setting? Like, how can you really make sure that everybody's working together and working towards that?
Yeah, for sure. So just to provide the listeners with a little bit of context, I have been really in my professional career for about 8 years now. And over the course of that 8 years, I've had a variety of roles, starting from an intern, and then I moved into the leadership development space. I helped my now fiance, at the time he was not, build a leadership development program. And our clients at the time were business owners. So we worked with people in the medical profession to be able to increase their leadership skills. And that really was close to my heart because both of my parents are doctors. So they're in the medical profession and they both run small businesses. So I really got to see growing up firsthand how a leadership lid is what we call, we use this word called a lid, and there are 3 different lids, but there's this leadership lid that exists when people don't actually know how to lead a business and how to lead their teams and how to create culture, which results in high turnover. It results in a lack of engagement. And ultimately that creates a gap in what the business is doing from a revenue standpoint because the clients feel that or the patients feel that. And so through the leadership place, I moved into more of a traditional HR role where I was leading human resources managers. And then I was in an operations because all of these things tie together, right? People, operations, and then ultimately the financial impact of the business are so closely intertwined that over the course of my career, I've hired hundreds of team members. I've also fired hundreds of team members. I've in one day fired 25 team members. So I'm pretty good at understanding what it takes to hold people accountable and how to make the decision of, is this a right cultural fit? And is this a wrong cultural fit? And how do you move people in and out of that system? It starts with having a defined culture. And so one of the first things that I think business owners really do miss is the definition of what their culture is. We do this through 3 statements. The first is the mission statement. The second is the vision statement. And the third is the core value statement. And unlike most consultants that will talk about those things, like all 3 of those statements in our organization have a very distinct purpose and they are usable. They're not just something that you put up on a wall. They're something that we work into the hiring process. We work into the onboarding process. We work into the performance review process so that people have a really clear understanding of what the organization stands for, what is not allowed, and that they will be moved out and actually see examples of people getting moved out of the environment because they do not fit those requirements that we've established as the business owners.
That's great. And I think if it's all right, I'll pick that apart a little bit because I'd like to talk about the mission statement. I think to your point, we hear that all the time. And just so you have a little bit of context, this is really geared towards financial advisors, maybe more specifically, or business owners for this specific session. So when you talk about that mission statement, it's something that's been kind of drilled into all of our heads, I think, forever. But the problem is, I think everybody ends up sounding the same or some version of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So can you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Like how you can kind of separate yourself with that and also how that kind of translate throughout a team?
For sure. I'm thrilled, by the way, that so many people talk about this because so few people are actually good at implementing it. And to your point, you end up sounding the same, and yet that's okay in theory to sound the same because your experience as an employee will be different with business A versus business B. But what I found is it's in the implementation of how people actually use their mission statement is where they totally go off track. And because they don't know how to use it, they don't set it up properly to begin with. So our requirements on a mission statement are it has to define the business's why. Like, why does the business exist? And ideally, you do not have any sort of team-oriented statement in there. Some mission statements are like, to create a wonderful environment and help serve our clients in the landscaping space, let's say. Well, what you do accidentally by including this like rah team environment in your mission statement is when you're actually using it to hold your team accountable to the things that they are responsible for doing in the business, they can throw that back on you as to, well, I thought we were having a great team environment. Well, no, the purpose is to serve the client. You have a smile on your face and you go over and above because the mission is to help our client in whatever impact that we are making. So from a financial advisor standpoint, everything that you're building should be towards how are you creating the impact for your client? That's a very similar business to what we're in. We're helping our businesses grow and achieve their goals personally, professionally, and financially. So every decision has to be made about that. It no longer becomes about me as an employee or you as the business owner, and has everything to do with being client centric. And one of the other things that really goes wrong with mission statements is they don't actually pinpoint the why. So it ends up feeling very fluffy. And what is so beautiful about entrepreneurship and being able to own a business is you started this business for a reason. You're creating financial wealth, you're creating security, you're creating impact for a reason. Likely you had a bad experience or you didn't know what to do. And so when you can put that in one sentence and really make it your own, it doesn't matter if you sound like other people because you're still able to say, this is why I wake up every morning, is to serve this group of people who have been underserved because I was once somebody who was underserved in this space.
Sure. That's great. I think the description of using the why is so important because I think you're exactly right. Everybody kind of talks about the what instead. Mm-hmm. And I think that resonates a lot, at least for me anyways, and how to make that a little better.
Yeah. So the mission is the why, and then the vision is the where. So where is the business going? And people have all sorts of weird vision statements, or they might not have one at all. But I think an important clarification is your mission statement is about your clients, but it's actually for your team. So there's a whole different framework to it's a filter that you would use in order to communicate with your clients to be able to generate new leads so that they turn a prospect into somebody that actually transacts and does business with you. That's a different framework. But your mission statement, your vision statement, and your value statement are all geared towards how are you creating an environment that describes for your team what this business is supposed to look like. So the mission is client centric, but for your team. Your vision is where you're going. And it's a joke to think that somebody should want to work with you, for you, in your business without you defining where you want to go and then springing it on them 2 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road, that this is where the business is going. Because what you've done is, without communicating it on the front end, they didn't think that they had to go above and beyond to create something different with you. They're looking for a job, and the terms of that job was you're doing XYZ thing. Well, when you're trying to grow and scale your business, XYZ thing also turns into A and B and C, and then you have to add M and L, and it evolves, right? But if you're not talking about that on the front end, you're not actually filtering for growth-oriented people. And so business owners get so frustrated that their teams don't want to work hard and that they complain about overtime. And yet when you look back at how the relationship started, you never told them that this is where you want to go. And so you never allowed them to consciously make the choice, oh, I'm interested in working hard. Oh, I'm interested in solving growth-oriented problems. And by doing that, having a really clear statement about it and putting it in the interview process, you're acknowledging it and actually creating the type of environment that you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah. And I hear, as you walk through that, I hear a lot like setting expectations is kind of the theme I'm catching. Is that fair to say?
Totally.
Okay. Yeah. And then, also I think probably a factor of that is that by sharing that vision, you're getting a little more, I don't know. I mean, it's not just about setting expectations, but also getting more buy-in for the future and getting people excited and wanting to be a part of it. Is that fair to say too?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're not getting them excited at the get, when are they supposed to be excited, right? At what point are you saying, this is what I'm looking for and this is where we're going? Because just like how we choose our romantic partners, if you want to have kids and you want to get married, you tell that person ahead of time, right? Like it's in the courting process, and you really do have to apply that same methodology to your hiring process and your interview. If you're not telling the person who you are and where you're going, why are you frustrated on the tail end when they're not really putting those things at play and helping you grow your business?
Sure. Okay. And I want to maybe switch gears here a little bit, but it's going to relate a lot to what you said about the mission statement, the why. So I want to maybe just kind of talk more broadly about, in this world where there is, so many people doing so many things, how do you stand out, outside of the mission statement? How do you get yourself out there? How do you make sure that, you can kind of separate yourself and break through a little bit?
Results. So if you are not having results, no one is going to take you really seriously as to what you're talking about. You can talk this big game about your mission, why you do what you do, and how important it is to you as the founder and the business owner. And then you can talk about, this is where we're going. We're going to have this massive growth and we're going to add all these people. But if you're not actually doing those things and then promoting that you are doing those things, you just sound and look like everybody else who has a pie in the sky vision, but isn't really executing. And so the first thing is establishing those things. The second piece is really executing and creating the results on it. And the third piece is, you can't just have results. This is something that my fiance, Brandon, really learned in his last business. It's great to have results and your bank account will grow because of it, but you are limiting yourself. You're putting a lid on how far you really can go, to the extent that you don't realize how important the promotion of those results are. Talking about how team members are making more money through succeeding with you will bring more team members who want to learn how to succeed. Talking about how your clients are having financial wins, personal wins, professional wins, sharing those as testimonies, like that is your only focus when you are starting a business, is to get those results. But then all of a sudden, once you have them and you're moving from being laser focused on those results to creating systems and processes to allow other people to get the same results that you have, you then have to promote and be somebody who is known for truly taking somebody from where they are currently to where they want to go. And that stands out in the marketplace because so few people truly know how to make other people's success easy. And if you have a process to do that, you're doing people a disservice by not promoting that you are the person that can actually take them there.
So you mentioned testimonials, but it sounds like you think even it's okay to kind of self-promote through that. Like you don't feel like that, there's always that side of it where people kind of feel like they shouldn't do that. Like it's kind of like, tooting their own horn kind of thing. How do you feel about that?
Why do you have a horn if you are not supposed to toot it? A horn is supposed to be tooted. Here's the thing. If you aren't promoting yourself, no one is going to do that for you. And your success will always be limited to the people who happen to experience it through the examples that they physically are hearing in real life or happen to have an engagement with. But when you really take it on as your responsibility to achieve that thing, this is why the mission and vision always tie back to culture issues. If you truly believe that what you are doing is changing lives and you know it to be true, all of a sudden you are not tooting your own horn just for the sake of making yourself look better. You are doing people who do not know about your product and service a disservice because you aren't willing to get past your own limiting beliefs around tooting your own horn or whatever crap your parents told you about staying small and being silent. Because what really should be happening in the marketplace is your expansion, is your growth. And if you are able to create a result for people, it is your duty, it is your responsibility, and should be your commitment to bring more people into that. Now that begs the question, are you providing a good service? And if you're not providing a good service and you're not creating the results, then of course not. Like, you shouldn't be promoting that. But so many people get burned because others are so good at promoting a bad product. Well, get that out of your head, because we're good people. We do good business. We do right by people. We overserve. We serve in abundance. So as long as you can go to bed knowing that that's what you do and that is your intent, then you promoting the successes that you're having should not be thought of as a negative, and should actually be thought of as vital to your survival as a business and your ability to serve your clients, your ability to serve your teams, and provide bigger opportunities for everyone around you.
That is so good. I think that, your point about tooting your own horn, not tooting your own horn, being a disservice if you're offering a good service, is everything. We talk about that all the time within our team. It's like, I get why people feel that way, but if you are doing something good for somebody, why would you not want to share that?
Yeah, you're showing that you're not really committed, that you don't really believe in yourself. And if you're not really committed and you don't really believe in yourself, what do you need to do to yourself first to sell you on you? Why are you selling this product? Why are you selling this service? And if you have some issue with it and it's really not doing the right thing, then don't do that thing and go do something that you should feel 100% like you can back and put power behind and have everybody know you for. And get rid of the thing that's holding you back with that. But if you're feeling that like, I don't know, this is why like there's so many people, especially on social media today, that talk about, waking up early and cold showers and just like all of this mumbo jumbo, which, not to say that any of that stuff is bad, but they then feel conflicted with truly engaging with people because they don't actually do those things. They talk about them, but they don't do them. Well, if you're really utilizing your service and product, and as a salesperson or a business owner, that is important to be able to show those results. But remember, when we started the podcast, that's what we were talking about, is if you have the results, then there's no issue. There should not be this moral conflict as to why you shouldn't promote and scream from the mountaintops how wonderful you and your product and your services are, and why your competition shouldn't be the person of choice.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I think that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people.
Awesome.
I do want to, so since you went down the path of the cold showers and the waking up early, you are extremely successful. You work with a lot of successful people. And so I would like to pick your brain a little bit on that front. Like, what are some of the productivity hacks? What are some things that people can do on a daily basis to just get a little leg up, set themselves up for success?
I love that question. When COVID happened, I've always struggled sleeping, and I made a bunch of excuses for it. We travel all over the world. We're in different time zones. I will have traveled to 4 different time zones this week. And so I always used to use that as my excuse for why I went to bed late and slept in a little bit. During COVID, I made the commitment to myself that I would do 5 things every single day while in quarantine. The first was work out every single day. The second was beating the sun up. And the idea behind beating the sun up is waking up before the sun rises so that you already have a leg up. It's like you've already crushed one thing. The sun didn't beat me today. I beat the sun up. The third thing was being in bed and asleep by 9:30. The fourth was training, doing some sort of learning and education every single day. And those things, sorry, I have Brandon in the background and I think he's taking another call.
That's okay.
Those things entirely changed my life. Predominantly, though, was the waking up early. And as soon as I started waking up early and creating more time in my morning, it was something that just held me back. And I don't necessarily know that there's any like magic. I think when people hear this stuff, they think, oh, maybe if I just start waking up early, all the success will come. I don't necessarily know that that's the case, but for me, what it created was discipline. And discipline is doing the things that you say you're going to do and handling the things that you know are holding you back. So whatever that thing is for you, for me, it was waking up early. I just had this feeling in my gut of I could be doing more. And this specific thing is the thing that I could be doing more, but I wasn't willing to commit to doing it. That was holding me back. It was reducing my ability to be confident in myself. So I had to handle that. For other people, it's watching too much TikTok. For other people, it's watching stupid television or hanging out with that friend that's not really the best influence on them, or maybe it's drinking too much. Whatever you have that feeling around, it's handling that thing so that you can show up with your mission, with your vision, with your values, and feel so good about the person that is showing up that you have full confidence when you're asking somebody to buy your products and services, because you know that you're a good person. And that gets like a little like woo-woo and maybe ethics related, but I think it's important for people to just attack the things that they already know are holding them back, and not just add all these additional things that might work for somebody else, but really isn't the thing that they specifically need handled.
Sure. And it gives kind of like a little mental trigger as well, right? I mean, you mentioned the word discipline. I think that's so important, because like just doing those things, I feel like, because I do those as well, basically everything you just laid out. And it feels like when I do that, my day is just like, I don't know. It just feels like I can get done what I need to get done because I've started off on such a strong foot.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. It's so important.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I think that's maybe a good place to start wrapping up here today. But as we do so, is there a way, if people have any questions or, want to hear a little bit more from you, is there a way people can get in touch with you or?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active, at Natalie Workman. And then I also have this podcast. It's called WorkWoman. I go through just how to help specifically women, but I've recently been told from my male friends that they didn't know that my podcast was for women, even though it's called WorkWoman. My last name happens to be Workman, so they thought that it was just a play on that. But I really do go through the nitty gritty of the details for how to scale and grow a business. Our business has grown dramatically over the last 18 months. We've hired 60 team members, and I've hired each and every one of them. And so just how do you put systems and processes in place? That's where I jam out on that. So I love to really connect with female business owners, with the occasional male that's interested in the same things.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was really good stuff. And for all of you, if you have any questions, we are also growing really fast here too. So if you have any advisors, if you would like to chat about joining us or have any questions for us, period, you can email us directly, info@mainsailfg.com. And I want to thank Natalie again so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
Of course.